I really lived a rebellious life, very selfish. Took the gifts that God gave me and said, how can I use this in a way that can be destructive and only helpful for myself? And that led to, I was selling drugs and just getting in a lot of trouble, in and out of jail constantly, in and out of rehab programs, or a few different like kind of sobriety programs through probation and things like that. And then when I was 21, I finally, the Lord was working in my life, finally gave my life to Christ. And then I just like every area of my life changed.
Welcome to A Founder's Life, and I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. On this show, we dive into the real stories behind the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and how we pursue a more balanced and meaningful life along the way. This podcast is sponsored by Thanks, helping founders like us scale with reliable remote talent. Email founders@thanks.com, that's THANKZ.com, with the subject line A Founder's Life, and you'll get $1,000 off your first month. Now, I'm excited today to be joined by Ben Steuart. Ben, great to have you here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Leo. I appreciate that. And so it's, my name is Ben Steuart. I grew up in rural Midwest in Minnesota, and I'm an entrepreneur, but more so, I first and foremost, I'm a follower of Christ, husband, a father, and love my family, and really active member of our church. But I think God given me the gift of entrepreneurship and just learning how to find and create opportunity. And that's kind of what I've been, doing really since the start of my career. I grew up working for my dad. He was more like I would say an inventive type. He was always like a, tinkerer, always creating new things. He was a chemist. He wasn't really like a natural like businessman. He's one that like really why I got my start in business was because of him. Growing up, he used to bring me with him to all of his trade shows, and ever since I was like 6 or 7 years old, I was always with him, and gave me so much exposure to like what his business looked like. I always thought he was a scientist, so growing up, I used to tell people I wanted to be a scientist, and he had like a little lab that was like it was like maybe 3 or 4 blocks from like where I lived. So like when I was 4 years old, I'd like ride my bike down there, and I remember there was one time they did a news story on my dad's business, and there was like this little like bike tipped over in front of this like corporate building. Like it just looked so out of place, but that was because that was me. I was just always in the lab, always looking at what he was doing, and really interested there. And I think that's like the goal of any father is you want your kids to want to aspire and model after you in some way, right? Pass on some value. And so that's kind of how I got my start. Just loved entrepreneurship growing up. When I was in high school, I had a couple side hustles, used to buy and sell stuff on eBay. And then it wasn't like for me. I wasn't following Christ in my late teens, early 20s. I really lived a rebellious life, very selfish. Took the gifts that God gave me and said, how can I use this in a way that can be destructive and only helpful for myself? And that led to, I was selling drugs and just getting in a lot of trouble, in and out of jail constantly, in and out of rehab programs, or a few different like kind of sobriety programs through probation and things like that. And then when I was 21, I finally, the Lord was working in my life, finally gave my life to Christ. And then I just like every area of my life changed. My whole friend group changed. I still was really entrepreneurial, but I started to see a purpose. Like, why does God give me these gifts? Is it so that I can feel important? Is it to build His kingdom? And just a huge dynamic paradigm shift over the like 2 or 3 years. God just was renewing my mind so much in Scripture and just through discipleship with other people. And then I got married. I think it was like 3 or 4 years later. I'm to an amazing wife, Sarah. She's so supportive. Loves the Lord, loves just supporting me and what we're doing. Through that time, I was managing my dad's manufacturing business, and I had a mentor that had been meeting with me regularly. I was always looking for ways like, how do I grow this thing? How do I, this my dad's business, right? And a mentor was like super smart, wise, and he said, I think you should start your own company. I think your dad's approach to business is not what you're trying to do, and it's only going to like that friction is not going to be good for your relationship. Just go and start your own thing. Really smart advice. And, I was 23 or 24 at the time. So we made a business plan, started our own business, and that's where we're 6 years into it now. And like, I think we started with like 3 or 4 team members, or even maybe 3 to 5 team members. And now we're up over 50, which is cool. I mean, not that numbers are one thing. It's only one aspect of business, right? But it is pretty amazing to see the team that we have now. But what our business is we manufacture health supplements. If you look at any of your favorite supplements that you see online or you buy on Amazon or whatever, most, if not all of them, don't make any of those products. They rely on a manufacturer like me to make their products for them. So it's actually kind of cool. We get to be behind the scenes. I don't know. I think like our business is almost like in a lot of ways, it's like an entrepreneur's like dream, right? I get to do all of the ideation and like get to be a part of all new product launches and new business launches, but I don't have to be the one that carries forward all the monotonous challenges that it takes to really grow a brand. I get to be a part of the new and exciting all the time, and that's been pretty neat to see that. A lot of engineering, a lot of problem solving, but it's that's where I got my start. Kind of grew up in a similar industry, working for my dad, learned the ropes, and then had an opportunity and just devoted ourselves to it, and that's where and the Lord blessed it, and we have an amazing team now.
Love that. Thank you for all the background there. It sounds like you're certainly building a great business with the gifts you've been given. Talk to us a little more about what family means to you.
Man, I think that family is the primary tool that God uses to build his kingdom. And so for me, I think early in our business, I didn't really see that as much. I saw kind of like you get the check boxes, you do this milestone in life, you get married, you get, and like, I mean, you never say that in the moment, but it kind of feels like that, you're trying to get to the next milestone. But like now I have 2 kids, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it's really exciting to think about. And I think in America, we think a lot about like maximizing your potential as an individual. But I think that God's mission for our lives is way more about maximizing other people's potential, and a potential that is going to last beyond your life, like his kingdom. And, when I think about like my kids, it's like, how do I lead our business and our family in a way that it sets our kids up to excel in every area beyond what I've been able to, in all for the glory of God, not for their own sake. That's just something that it's been really like challenging me. I'm not an expert in that at all. I'm very young in this, but I'm a consistent steward in that, and just trying to study and be a good student of how to I become a great family leader.
I think for someone whose kids are a little bit older than yours, mine are 20, 22.
That's great.
I'd say a lot of it's about being a present father.
Yeah.
The kids knowing that you're important to them. My kids know that wherever I am in the world, they come first, and they always will. They're an important part of my life. And I think that's your kids understanding, whether they be 1 and 4 or 20 and 22.
Yeah.
The kids understanding that is, what helps build that long term.
Yeah, for sure. It's, I mean, it's interesting to think about, how you can, really integrate like your kids into your business, your family into your business, because it's like the whole work-life balance thing. And I mean, a lot of people have different takes on that, but it is like, in some ways it's like this elusive thing that you never really attain is balance, right? But when you think about like, how could you integrate your family into what you're doing, then it becomes so much more clear of like, how do you do it in a way where you're prioritizing their development, you're prioritizing your value, instilling your values into them, and just loving and caring for them. And that paradigm shift for me was really, really motivating and encouraging in how I can be a better leader at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting that you say that. My 22-year-old, my daughter, is actually a co-founder in my latest business, which is a health apps. Actually, we literally are working together, and I'm in Portugal right now, but she's come to stay with me for a month, and that's
so neat.
Great to spend that time together, and also get the business going well together as well.
How did that desire develop for her? Were you integrating her into what you were doing when she was in her teens? Or, I mean, like, how did that come about?
So for both my kids, I've always talked to them about a business. I tell them about the highs, and I talk to them about the lows. An entrepreneur, there's plenty of lows as well.
For sure.
So yes, I mean, I very much share that journey with them. My daughter's always been a bit of an entrepreneur. She's also an influencer. So she has, I think, over 150,000 followers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Amazing.
And I had the original idea for a health app, which came from sort of my journey. I mean, I've lost over 95 pounds in the last 20 years, and I'm by far the fittest and healthiest I've ever been in my life. I'm running marathons, doing triathlons, all those things. I had a bit of an idea, and then I talked to my daughter about it, who has a real passion for health tech, especially because she has her own health issues. And the idea evolved to what it is today, which is sort of building healthy habits for long term. And that's really sort of where that's come from. And talk to you about what health means to you.
Oh, man, that's interesting. I mean, I think that, I think that this life we live is only temporary, right? And, you want to think about like, I mean, for me, I want my body and my health to be something that serves my overall mission in life. It's not the most important thing, but I really want to, maximize every area of my life in the little time that we get, right? And for me, I just, I want to live a healthy life, but I want to do it in a way that's like a joy. for me and my family, where it's just, you enjoy the foods that God gives you, and the right foods. You enjoy the body that He gives you, and you steward it well. You enjoy the physical action and the strain and the stress that you can put on your body in a way that sharpens you mentally and physically. It's interesting, the world that we live in today, where a lot of things are about like human optimization and all these different things that we're studying and learning about with supplements, and we're in like on the front end of that when it comes to new products being developed. But I think for the most part, in the right place, it's a really good thing, and it can be really fun. When it becomes the best thing, then that's just another idol. But it is really powerful if you're strong in those areas for the sake of a greater mission.
That makes sense. And what do you like to do for fun?
Man, what do I like to do for fun? I love spending time with my family. I love spending time with my kids, helping them do, learn different things. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So they're just learning how to do more physical kind of challenges is very new, especially my daughter who's 4. She's learning how to do wants to learn how to do a cartwheel and stuff like that. So it's just fun being the coach in that scenario. I love going on trips with my family. We do a lot of business trips. So I probably about 90% of them I take my family with, even if I get a lot of weird looks of like, why is your kid here and stuff like that. It's so much fun just to give that gift to my kids of what I got. I dream of the day of being able to take my daughter with me to a trade show and be able to go and hit the floor with her, working like that, and just learning my kids' gifts and seeing how I can coach and just champion the potential that they have. So I really like what I do, but I love doing it with my family even more than that.
Nice. So that should make the next question an easy one for you. How does a balanced life look for you?
Balanced life. I think it's an integrated life. I'm not perfect at this at all, but what I'm striving for is I want every area of my life to be building. I want whatever I'm doing at work to be building my family up, and I want to be able to integrate my family into what I'm doing so that it can be building them up. I think that, it's important that you can prioritize. It's more about priority than anything else. It's prioritizing your relationship with God first, then it's your relationship with your family, then it's community, and then it's business and other things, right? And I think if you can prioritize those things first, then you have the right heart intent. If my relationship with God is good, then I have the right heart intent to carry forward those other things so that I'm not prioritizing those things above God.
And what for you has been a pivotal moment in your life?
Man, that's such a good question. I love hearing different entrepreneur stories on that. I think for us, there's so many different ones. The first one was when I was 21, when I gave my life to Christ. That was by far the most life-changing moment. The next one is really just the decision to pursue and marry my wife, Sarah. It was so formative for our lives. And then obviously the birth of my first daughter, Sloan, and our little boy, Hudson. He was a miracle baby. So that was just, those are the moments you actually will think about. When I think about it, from the business context, we had quite a few. So we manufacture regulated products, so supplements, foods, things like that. COVID, so many people had this kind of pivot they had to make. And for us, we had most of our customers, their sales just went flat to nothing. In March of 2020, we were producing a lot of CBD products at the time, and that was like a bubble that was just growing and growing and growing. And then COVID just was the needle that popped that, and everything just went to nothing. And so we were scrambling, what can we do? What can we do? And we had to put on our hats, and we figured out a way to produce hand sanitizer, because everyone thought hand sanitizer was going to save your life back then, right? So then that was a real shot in the arm for us. We rode that wave. We did very well with it in just a few months. It led to us expanding into our next building, and then once that bubble kind of, people realized that wasn't the savior, that it didn't really matter if you had hand sanitizer, and it was coming out of everyone's ears how much the stores had. Then we got into we kind of rode different waves. So we would look at, okay, we don't have the cash to buy this equipment. We wanted to be debt free. So we just would be very creative. And that's one thing as an entrepreneur, I love the idea of just, you always strive to answer the questions you're asking. And if you're not coming up with good answers or solutions, you're asking poor questions. And, for us, the idea of how do we grow the business in a way where we don't have debt in the early years? We do some leverage now, but in those early years, I didn't even know what I didn't know. So debt would have been a really poor choice. I would have, leveraged ourselves on a good idea that just would have been not well thought through. So we really looked for ways to be strategic in those moments. And one of the things we did was we started packaging COVID test kits. We produced millions of those, and that was a really good project for us. It ended in our customers weren't very honest, and we had to go through a handful of different legal challenges there. But that was, it was all learning. I mean, like God just used every single one of those things and toughened us, helped us to have more discernment in the future. And ever since 21, we've been producing supplements, and it just really gave us the vision to what we have now. So it's funny how there's never just one specific, for me, there was that one turning point of putting my faith in God and just, set the direction for everything else. But it is really neat to see those different milestones and critical seasons of each season and how that plays forward to the next.
The entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
Man, this is interesting. I think in the book of Proverbs, it talks about seeking wisdom. And ask for wisdom, you'll find it. And always looking for feedback. And the one who yearns for feedback, yearns for correction will be blessed. And the one who despises it will be cursed, right? And I just see that again and again. We have a lot of young people that work for us. I see a lot of young entrepreneurs. And the ones that really do well are the ones that really lean into that. The ones that don't, or they struggle, or they, maybe they build something successful, but you look later in their life and you're like, man, I don't want anything to do with that, what that guy has, because he built it on faulty footing, right? And multiple marriages or other, broken relationships. And I think it all goes back to that. If you humble yourself and seek wisdom and seek correction and you apply it and you look for those things and you don't act like you know it all, I just see that will bless you in so many areas of your life, especially entrepreneurship, where we're trying, failing, and we're on the edge of discovering how insufficient we are and how bad our strategy is, and course correcting, right? It's just, it's kind of learning on, you experience all the pain of doing it wrong faster.
Love those words of wisdom. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And how can people find you?
They can follow me on LinkedIn, Ben Steuart. I'm pretty active on there. I have a YouTube channel as well where we post some of our podcast videos, just interviewing brand founders, and also just more just engineering and problem solving solutions that we're coming up with in our business. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, but also building our YouTube as well.
Love that. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Leo. Appreciate it.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and please leave a review.